Hey, everybody, I'm here with the miserable liberal and Graham Elwood from Political Vigilante.
Hello.
Hello.
Check out Graham's show on YouTube, Political Vigilante. I want to talk today about what's happening in Kansas. I don't know if you saw. This is the Dems give GOP scare in deep red Kansas. So what's happening in Kansas is pretty interesting. It's a very red state. It's gotten even redder. The Koch brothers took over. It's been taken over by the far extreme right wing in Kansas, and the whole state's going to hell in a handbasket, right? So they're closing schools. Their credit ratings they're running debt. They cut taxes, and now they don't have any funding to do anything for people. The governor is very unpopular, Brownback. So here, a last-minute intervention by national Republicans in one of the reddest districts in America was enough to stave off what would have been a crushing upset Tuesday in Kansas's 4th congressional district. But the unexpectedly close race still portends major problems for Republicans in 2018. State Treasurer Ron Estes beat Bernie Sanders-backed Democrat James Thompson in a Kansas congressional race special election that became close in the final weeks of the campaign. Estes ended up taking 52% of the vote to Thompson's 45%. So that's a 7% swing. But why is that? So you go, oh, he got crushed by 7%. The guy who held that seat before won by 31 points. That's a red district. The guy who held it before was Pompeo. By the numbers, the race in Kansas shouldn't have been close. Representative Mike Pompeo, a Tea Party Republican picked to lead the CIA, he was a Tea Party Republican. He was elected by more than 30 points in November. He's a reliable conservative in a reliable conservative district that is home to the Koch industries. But in the middle of last week, Republicans began circulating an internal poll showing Thompson trailing by just 1 point. Get this. So a Tea Party guy wins by 30 points in November. Just a couple of months into Trump's term. And he's the most unpopular guy ever. And they only win that seat by 7 points to a Bernie Sanders populist. What does that frickin' tell you? Exactly. That this should be a bloodbath in 2018. And the Democrats should take over Congress and the Senate. The House and the Senate. They should. But what happens? So the Republicans got on it. They sent money. They sent $100,000 to last week. They had Trump record a robocall. They were on it. They were like, we're not losing this. When the DNC, the infusion of cash was a signal to Democrats that all of a sudden the race was competitive. Yet the Democratic Party stayed out of the race until the campaign's final days, when the Democratic National Committee and Democratic Congressional Campaign began making calls on its behalf. So all this Tom Perez 50-state strategy, we got to lead with our values, they're doing the same shit they always did. They didn't help out a guy in a red state who was a progressive because they don't want a fucking progressive winning. Thompson said the National Party stayed away because they had concluded early on he couldn't win, and a lot of people don't want to be proven wrong. Tom Perez, genius, a genius loser. Washington Democrats argued that they had jumped into the this is the excuse, you guys, that they gave. Why the National Democrats didn't support him more? Because if they would have, it would have nationalized the race, meaning voters would retreat to their partisan corners and Thompson would have been sunk. So if we support the guy, people are going to realize he's a Democrat. And then people won't want to support him. A completely invented idea. That sounds very much like you can't vote for Bernie because they're going to call him a communist in the general and he'll lose. Just a made-up thing. But even if that's true, their reluctance to match the Republicans' ad buy has left grassroots Democrats furious. Even without the party involved, independent activists sent more than $200,000 to Thompson in the closing days of the race. That Thompson made the race competitive at all is a testament to the strength of the opposition to Trump. So this is what I said before. If Trump wins, it's a silver lining. It's almost a gift to the Republicans, to the Democrats who have been wiped out. They will now be able, this will be a rallying cry. He will be the most unpopular. All the moderates, Democrats, purple straight Republicans will come to get. happening, except the DNC is doing their best to F it up. I didn't think the Democrats would be this stupid, but they are. So the grassroots Democratic resurgence can be tracked back to the Women's March the day after Trump's inauguration, a rally in Washington that was replicated in towns and cities across the country and drew some 5 million people into the streets, all of it done independently of the Democratic Party. I'm telling you, they're a dead party, and they need new leadership, and Tom Perez is not going to wake up. And I don't care how many times he stands shoulder to shoulder with an actual progressive, it's not rubbing off. When Trump implemented his Muslim ban shortly after protesters flooded airports, again organically, but this time joined by a handful of Democratic politicians who were seeing the resistance for the sustained movement that it was. So it took the grassroots to wake up the dumb Democrats to get up and start being progressives and oppose Trump. They weren't even going to do it. Elected Democrats responded by rallying in a largely unified way against Trump's nominees and his agenda on Capitol Hill, wary of winding up on the wrong end of the energized base. They didn't do that. They had to be prodded into doing that. People had to go to I showed you the video of Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and his constituents showing up screaming at him for supporting Trump's picks. That's what did it. It wasn't the Democrats got together and thought of a strategy. It was activists who showed up at their town halls who scared the shit out of them. And then they're like, hey, I'd like to keep going along with Trump and the corporatists, but I might lose my seat. I'd like to go along with the neoliberals and keep being shitty to the people who elected me and turning our back on workers and the people who want me to stand up against this. But I guess I might have to stand up against it because they might vote me out. When Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan pushed forward with the repeal of the Affordable Care Act, Republican members of Congress heard an outpouring of opposition, much of it channeled by local indivisible groups, which hadn't existed before the election. So Trump is exactly what I said he was. He is a perfect rallying cry for the left. He woke them up. But the politicians are slow to follow. I did not count on the Democratic politicians continuing to stand in the way. While Trump has been told by his allies on Capitol Hill that it was extreme conservatives in the Freedom Caucus who sunk repeal, in reality, it was done by moderate Republicans who felt the heat back at home. Just like I said, it's going to be all the Democrats, independents, and the purple state Republicans, the moderates, join together. In February, Democratic voters in Delaware swarmed to the polls in a critical special election to claim the state Senate, and donors began pumping millions of dollars in small contributions to John Ossoff, a Democrat running in a special election in suburban Atlanta to replace Tom Price. The Kansas race, the first federal race since Trump's November victory, was one of a number of elections across the country that drew national interest as a bellwether of whether the early furor and opposition to Trump's administration could translate to political gains. At the state level, Democratic activism has already helped Democrats do well in areas where Republicans have traditionally performed well. So here it is. Again, the table is set. If the Democrats want to take over, they got the most unpopular guy ever, and they have the most unpopular Republican Party ever. This table is set. The Democrats, you know what they're going to do? They're going to try and win with a slightly shittier version of Republicanism. Democrats now turn to Georgia and Montana, where they're looking to flip Republican seats in special elections. 30-year-old Ossoff is running a close campaign in Georgia's 6th district for a seat long held by Republicans, including former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. In Montana, folk singer Rob Quist is running for a seat given up by Ryan Zinke, now Secretary of the Interior, and appears to have caused early rumblings of Democratic enthusiasm. On Sunday, Thompson said that regardless of the outcome of the race, he felt he had already won because he had shown that Democrats could make a Republican district competitive by running on an unapologetically progressive platform. We still can't convince Tom Perez and the Democrats to run on an unapologetic, you know what I'm saying. We still can't get it. I had on a very nice Democratic organizer, Sally Boynton Brown, on our show yesterday. She still can't say what the Democrats stand for, except the platitude. Here's a guy getting it done, goes into the reddest district in the reddest state, and look what he did. That's a real progressive. So when you show up in these states, I'm telling the Democrats, you have to, if either you believe in democratic values that will help people or you don't. You don't show up and go, hey, look, we're Democrats and we don't really believe in all the stuff the national Democrats believe in. We're going to give you a slightly less shitty version of what the Republicans are giving you. That doesn't win. That's why you guys are wiped out. Do you see what happened? So, of course, the DNC didn't help them. Of course, the frickin' Democrats didn't help them. What do you guys have to say about this?
I'm just relieved that they didn't want to nationalize this election. Thank goodness. I mean, can you imagine that they actually stick their chin out and support somebody who has credibility? I got to tell you, the Democratic Party is dead. It's dead.
It's dead.
It's dead.
Right?
It's unbelievable because this was evidenced by the November election in terms of some local ballot measures that were passed. Overall, America wants progressive politics. They want progressive policy, and the Democratic Party is the biggest
They're obstructing progressive policy.
They're the biggest obstruction for it. They don't want it, and they're like handed this. They're handed this, and they can't.
Gift.
A gift. They should have been sitting there on the day after the inauguration, saw that women's march, and they should have gone, yes, we got it. We've got 5 million people ready to go. But they're part of the problem. That's why so many goddamn Democrats just were like, yay for the Syria bombing, Trumpy. That's why they don't want a real progressive in there.
Well, what happened, Graham, was after that women's march, right? The Democratic Party, half of them went, yeah, we can take back over. And the other half went, we still have to keep crushing the progressives.
Yes.
We have to make sure that everyone knows that we didn't lose because of Hillary and our corporatism. It was because of progressives and Russia. We have to keep talking about that for at least 3 more months.
Yeah.
And they're still talking about it.
Let's blame Bernie. Let's blame Jill Stein.
Let's blame sexists. Let's blame millennials.
I want to blame the Obama administration because didn't they have an opportunity to give us universal health care?
Yeah. They sure did.
And they killed it.
And
didn't they have Democrats in the House and Senate?
They killed it.
They killed it.
So they had complete control of government stuff. Yes, they did. And instead of passing universal health care, meaning single-payer medical for all, they passed Romney Care on purpose. And they didn't even give us a public option, the Democrats, on purpose. And that's why I say, why even vote for the Democrats? Because when they take over, you get a right-wing fucking health care plan anyway. We would have got this. By the way, we still have it. The Republicans took over, and guess what they left in place? The Republican health care plan invented at the Heritage Foundation in fucking 1989. That's what still is here. They didn't get rid of it. You know why? Because it's their fucking plan.
And even that horrible Republican plan has a bunch of moderate Republicans and people in small towns going, hey, the Affordable Care Act actually was helping me. All those town halls at Republican senators' town hall meetings where Republican citizens were going, hey, man, don't get rid of this plan. Imagine if what Stephanie said. If it was single payer. If it was single payer, it would be even more of a groundswell of people saying you're not getting rid of this. And the Democrats could sit there and plant their flag in it and go, see what we did for the American people? We're going to do this for you at every turn. But they're not. They just want more fucking oil money. They need to get a hold of goddamn Syria for the pipeline for the Saudis. Like they're the worst.
They are the worst. I don't know what to tell people. I don't know what to tell politicians like I had on yesterday, Sally Boyden Brown, who's a very nice woman. She's working hard. She doesn't understand that she's on a fool's errand. If you think you're going to get people who aren't interested in politics to get interested in politics by offering them nothing except platitudes, it's a fool's errand. And
what is the Democratic Party offering me?
Well, Steph, this is the question.
Is there a jobs program? What did they decide that they're going to have green jobs? Are they going to rebuild our infrastructure? What are they doing
do they stand for a living wage?
Couldn't
do they stand
tell.
for 50?
I don't know.
They stand for single payer. They stand for free college.
Have no idea.
They stand for ending the wars and reinvesting the money.
Tell me what Hillary's campaign platform was, because I can tell you what Trump's was.
I know what it was. I can tell you.
Oh,
I'm with her.
I'm with her.
There it is.
Yeah,
that'll get me my job back. That'll help me with the house that I foreclosed on.
That'll protect my unions.
Yeah, exactly. My health care costs that keep going up and up. I need to go to the chiropractor because I've had to sit too much on too many planes, and I had to pay out of pocket. So I'm with her. Is that going to pay for that bill? No, it won't. They have nothing.
They have no vision. Their vision is dead, and I've left the Democratic Party.
I could give them a better vision right now in 60 seconds. Cut the defense budget in half, take that money and put it into infrastructure. Take that $250 billion extra that we don't need for the defense budget, that's more than the other next 7 countries combined, and build green jobs, build the infrastructure, become number 1 in solar and wind turbine production. Oh, give everybody health care, give everybody college education. That'll help our crime problem. We won't be creating terrorists by bombing them and radicalizing moderate Muslims in the Middle East.
Graham, your 60 seconds are up. I'm sorry you couldn't get enough stuff in.
I'm with Graham.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, Graham, you're exactly right. It's, you can wake me up out of a sound sleep and I can tell you exactly what the Democrats should be talking about. They should talk about a living wage, $15 minimum wage, end the wars, reinvest that money back home, free college for everyone, single payer health care, infrastructure. Bam. And how about this? How about this? We do card check so we could have stronger unions. Maybe we go anti-fracking and we break up the big banks. So there's all these great things that would get people to the polls, except the Democrats' donors don't want them to do any of those things. So we get nothing but platitudes. And so what I say to the Democrats right now is go fuck yourself.